Hi everybody, Jake, your resident content cowboy here. Yeehaw! I'm moving things around inside this room, so pardon the dust. Okay, so today I wanted to make a tier list. It's Mondays. On Mondays we do tier list. On Wednesdays we do pink. Whoa, got it wrong.
You're wearing sweatpants. It's Monday.
So?
So that's against the rules, and you can't sit with us.
Whatever. Those rules aren't real.
They were real that day I wore a vest.
Because that vest was disgusting.
You can't sit with us!
I wanted to do a tier list based on Pokemon that I am seeing dominate the competitive 5 versus 5 scene. So you're just going to see 4 tiers today. The see them so much tier, our S tier. The A lot of teams are using these tier. The B tier. No matter what I do, can't shake the B tier. Still got the B tier. And the C, Colleen, these Pokemon get 0 play tier. Those are our tiers for today. In fact, this needs to be a different color, doesn't it? Red. This tier is now red. I'm just going to go through where I'm seeing a lot of these Pokemon competitively, why you're seeing them there, and hopefully I can make some sense of that for you. This won't necessarily affect your solo queue games that much, but you know, knowing what the top pros are using gives you a good idea as to why that is happening and what some of the best choices are. So let's see here. Let's start with see so much of them that you probably expect. Lucario. Lucario is the staple of the top lane. Oftentimes in competitive play, you see a 1-1-3, which is 1 Pokemon on the top lane, 1 Pokemon in the central area, and 3 Pokemon in the bottom lane. That's not the only configuration you see, but even when you see what you might expect more often, the classic 2-1-2 that the game sort of encourages you to play, you still see Lucario in that comp very, very often. One of the most used Pokemon. Both of its builds, all of its builds are good. I was gonna say both. There are so many builds that work well for this character. Lucario is just absolutely insane. It secures well, it team fights well, it survives well, it scores well, it does everything well. It's Lucario. You see so much Lucario. Okay, let's see. Let's take someone who a lot of teams are using. Oh, actually, okay, we'll talk about sort of the up-and-coming top laner, and that's Machamp. Machamp, you actually see a lot more of right now. It's really good in that top lane. Since it got its buffs to Karate Chop and some of its lifesteal, it's been much more viable. The big buff, I think, that's making it playable in that top lane is its Karate Chop buff. Basically, it's given it the ability to last hit Pokemon very well, so it can compete with someone like Lucario, and its late game is pretty amazing. The Unite moves you get out of Machamp are brutal. So I'm seeing more and more teams try out Machamp in the top lane instead of Lucario. I haven't really seen him played anywhere else. I think one time I saw him played in the jungle, but in general, we are seeing a lot of Machamp, and it is in the top lane when it is oftentimes replacing Lucario. Let's go through the rest of the all-rounders right now while we have them here. Charizard. Charizard, you're seeing a decent amount of. I'm going to put it in the B tier. It's not insanely prevalent, but we are seeing it mostly in the jungle. It's definitely a Pokemon that is making its way into some of the competitive comps. Some of the issues you're seeing with Char, it has a hard time grabbing people with its Unite sometimes because so many characters are unstoppable, so it's getting its Unite move sort of canceled out in some very, very important moments. Also, you're seeing teams use Buddy Barriers in such a way where it's not able to really burn through the enemy team like you would like it to. However, it gets its Unite constantly. It's a real menace when it is in the air. It's also pretty strong just in general, and if it gets enough experience in the jungle, it's been pretty decent on a lot of the teams I've seen. I've seen some top teams, I think from the most recent Japanese winter tournament, were running it in the jungle, so there's definitely a lot of viability for Charizard right now. Mainly in that jungle role. I don't think I've seen it anywhere else. That central area is where we're seeing Char. Our next all-rounder, let's see. Garchomp. Garchomp is a shade between B and Colleen. These Pokemon get 0 play. I've really only seen one team run it, and that's Team Shiny, although they've done very well with it. I would even say this Pokemon, I'm going to add a new tier. And this tier, of course, is going to be the B-. There's nothing I can do about this. It's lowercase. It's B-. We now have the B- tier. Okay? And at the same time, we're going to change its color. So I'm going to put Chomp here. Again, not a Pokemon that you never ever see, but at the same time, you rarely end up seeing this Pokemon competitively. I've only seen a couple teams use it very well. However, it's pretty cool when you see Chomp inside of a competitive game. Let's see, our next all-rounder. Where are we here? All-rounders, all-rounders, all-rounders. Zarina. Unfortunately, Zarina right now is getting 0 competitive play. I never see Zarina. It used to be kind of a B tier. Some people were trying it basically in that spot you would see Machamp in, and they were having decent luck with it. After the nerf, you don't really see Zarina much at all. I don't think I saw it a single time. I'm trying to think if I saw it a single time watching matches throughout the tournament. So I don't believe so. I don't think we see any Zarina. At least I haven't in the competitive scene. I would love to see it reemerge, but I think they might have nerfed it a little too hard to compete with some of the other all-rounders here. Dragonite, I'm going to put Dragonite B tier. You were seeing a ton of Dragonite, and now a lot less. After considerable nerfs to this Pokemon, the Buddy Barrier nerf, the Hyper Beam nerf, it just feels like Dragonite, while it secures very well, and sometimes you do see it on a score comp, you're not seeing it a ton in general. I kind of leave it B because I do see it more than Garchomp, where again, I really only have seen it played by 1 or 2 teams. I see it in teams that are focused on scoring, focused on flipping objectives. I see it from time to time in the jungle, but way, way less. I see way less Dragonite than I did. At one point, Dragonite was S, then it was kind of A. Right now, it's B, maybe even low B- tier. Our next all-rounder, Aegislash, I only saw on, I think I saw on 2 team comps. I'm going to put this B-. I think it's right in here with Garchomp, maybe slightly ahead, and I think it will probably be used less, but it's new. People are trying it out. I know I've seen the Bandicoots run it. I saw Team Shiny run it, so there are some very competitive teams that are trying this Pokemon out. However, I don't think we're going to see a ton of play for Aegislash. The big problem with Aegislash is it's taking a role in the jungle area. That's where you're seeing everyone play it central. I think I've seen maybe 1 team try it in the top lane, but you're playing in the central area, and there are just a lot of Pokemon there that people really want to play, and you see a ton of because they are crazy hyper carries. Aegislash doesn't really fit the bill for that. It's pretty cool, has some cool abilities, but it's not a hyper carry like some of the others. Okay, those are our all-rounders here. Let's talk about, okay, let's do our speedsters here. Absol. Absol I never see. I think I've seen once or twice I've seen some people run Absol, but no. You don't really see Absol competitively right now. I've seen a couple teams put it in the jungle. That's it. I'm wondering if you could top lane it, but I mean, the thing that happens with some of these Pokemon is you think, oh, maybe you could figure out a way to make it work in this one situation, but at the same time, it doesn't really help the team that much. So why are you wasting a spot with Absol when you could have Lucario or Machamp in that top lane? Or why are you putting it in the jungle when there are many other competent jugglers? I've seen a few teams, I think in the winter tournament, run it, but it doesn't seem to get a lot of play competitively right now at all. Our next speedster on our list, almost grab Crustle here as a speedster. Let's see. Oh, Gengar. You never see Gengar. Never once, ever. Never. You never see it. You're not going to see it. You never see it. The issue with Gengar is it just doesn't do anything particularly... it doesn't do anything that is extremely useful that another Pokemon can't either do better or just do in a different way much better. So yeah, it's very assassin-y and it can delete a Pokemon, but you've got to be right next to them. You'd just rather use a Pokemon like Cinderace in every single respect, even though I recognize they don't have the same feel exactly, but you get such little value out of a Pokemon like that that needs to jump in. You never see Gengar. Never, ever, ever. Talonflame, interestingly enough, very different from Gengar. The amount of burst damage you get, the mobility you get, it's weird. Both of these Pokemon jump in, but Talonflame, I see a ton. In fact, I'm seeing a you used to see Fly Talon, which you still kind of do on a score comp, which is a team that's set up to do a lot of scoring and really pressure the enemy goals. And you also see it in the jungle a lot now running Brave Bird, and its Brave Bird build I think is very legit. I'm seeing teams from all over insert Talonflame into their jungle, some in their top lane as well. I think Talon is just really great right now, and it is being used by a lot of teams. I was surprised by how much Talon I saw, and I love Talon. Zeraora. I never see Zeraora played. Never. I would love to see more Zeraora. I just never see it. I think Zeraora's biggest issue is how long it takes to level. So it doesn't get its really powerful move to kind of complete its kit until level 8. So you usually have it by Dread, but you don't have its Unite move. Even if you get to level 9, you get its Unite at level 10. It's just kind of always behind for that reason. A great Pokemon, but competitively, the difference between the enemy having a level 9 Cinderace at Dreadnought and you being a level 9 Zeraora, I mean, it's not even really comparable. That Unite move is so impactful early, and winning first Dreadnought and getting your team a level advantage is so huge right now. So I do think that that's the reason we don't see that much Zeraora competitively. Also, it's not ranged, so you always run into that issue of, you know, a Pokemon that is not ranged has to get in the thick of a fight. They can be caught a little bit easier. There are just other Pokemon that we see instead. Okay, those are our speedsters competitively. Let's head on over to, let's do our defenders. Blastoise, you almost never see, but I do from time to time. I've seen it tried as a solo top laner. I've seen it somewhat in the bottom lane. This one is teetering into Pokemon you don't see played right now in the highest ranked competitive meta. I really rarely see it. I almost think I should put it in the zero play category, but I have seen it from time to time. It's just extremely rare. It doesn't seem to do the job well enough right now. Ever since it was nerfed, it just doesn't seem to find its way into that competitive meta. You know, you're comparing it to other defenders and supporters, which we'll get to soon, that are just kind of doing its job a lot better. And then you compare it, if you're trying to put it in the top lane, to you know, some massive heavy hitters like Lucario and Machamp right now. Let's see, next defender, Crustle. You never see Crustle. Well, okay, so you do see Crustle in one sense, and it's score comp. Very, very rare. You never see it any other time. But every once in a while, when a team is trying to do heavy scoring, you do see Crustle because it has insane mobility. It can take objectives very fast. So if a team is trying to do a lot of scoring, you sometimes see Crustle. Extremely rare, though. And it's only on one setup. You never see it in the sort of more team-fighty 1-1-3 meta. You never see Crustle. Let's see here. Next defender, Greedon. Greedon, I would say, is probably A. You see Greedon in both score comps, and you see it used off and on. Maybe it's closer to B. It feels a little... Yeah, I think it's closer to B. Some teams run it top, some teams run it jungle, some teams run it counter jungle, some teams run it paired top lane. It's kind of thrown into some of these weirder comps. I love Greedon, so I think my bias is showing a little bit by me wanting to put it in the a lot of teams are using these. I wouldn't say a lot of teams are using these, but it is used much more often than the Pokemon below it down here. I'm not going to add a B+ tier. I'll never do that, I promise you. But if I did, it would probably be in the B+ tier. Well, maybe one day we'll get a B+ tier. Mamo. Insanely rare. You see it in the bottom lane, but it's very, very, very rare. I would say you kind of see it more than Blastoise, to be honest. But it's just incredibly rare. There are other defenders doing that job that seem to have more consistency. I did see a few teams run it, but again, phenomenally rare to see it. If you ever are going to see it, it's in that bottom lane. I saw a team one time try to put it in the solo top lane, and it felt like, you know, that's a fun choice, but it's just not good enough, unfortunately. Okay, Snorlax. You see a decent amount of Snorlax. It's mostly used to fight against score comps. And, you know, in a way, it's kind of in the B- tier, if I'm being honest, like near the top of the B- tier here. You don't actually see it in normal comps. You almost see it as a reaction to what the enemy is doing. So it's not it's not used often unless you know that the enemy is trying to score a lot and then you're using block to stop their scoring. Because the Pokemon that you see in the bottom lane, this is one of the next ones, is Slowbro. We're seeing so much Slowbro right now. It's in that bottom lane, that tri-lane that we see paired with supports and an attacker. It's super tanky. It's ranged. Surf, its move is amazing. It has great CC. Its ability to withstand damage is kind of unparalleled with Amnesia. Some teams even run Telekinesis so they can, single out enemy carries. Its Unite move cancels many other Pokemon's Unite moves and lets you grab one of the most important Pokemon on the enemy team and shut them down completely. Slowbro is seeing so much play right now. It's really cool to see Slowbro played so much. Any other defenders here? Yeah, Trevenant. Never seen him once. Okay. Trevenant needs some buffs, it feels like. I wonder if we'd see it in that tri-lane if it got some buffs, but boy, compared to the other defenders and supporters that we see in that bottom lane, it's just so far behind and it takes so long to get good. Maybe if its early game was a lot better, we'd see it, but its early game is really, really rough. Supporters are next here. Blissey, I'm seeing more and more of. It was almost never used, but then the team AFR from the Philippines used it, won a tournament with it, and I'm seeing more people pair it with Venusaur. It's rarer than some of the other supports, but I am actually seeing it rise a little bit here. Okay, next support, Eldegoss, you see constantly. You almost never see a team without Eldegoss. It happens, but it's extremely rare. Eldegoss, gives a team-wide shield. It has great secure with Leaf Tornado. It's just so good. Its Unite move's great. Hurts the enemy, heals your team, pushes people. It's just so good. It's ranged. Eldegoss is so amazing. I hope the new supporter, gives Eldegoss a run for its money because I'd love to see more supports played. Mr. Mime, oddly enough, I rarely see anymore. I'm not saying you never see it, but it's gotten really, really low play lately. And it's because I think people like Slowbro and the next support we're going to talk about just see so much more action in that bottom lane. People like Mime. I think its Unite is good. Its Confusion's good. It has good damage, but it doesn't seem to have the insane amount of control that you get out of the other two, out of the support and defender that you often see. The supporter I'm talking about that you often see is Wiggly. You see so much Wiggly. Wiggly's very, very good. You often see a choice between Wiggly and Slowbro. I think I've seen them run together on a couple teams, but for the most part, it's either Slowbro in that bottom lane as sort of the tanky character or Wiggly in that bottom lane as that tanky character. You also see it on score comps if it's running rollout and just running around the map scoring, but most of the time you see it in the bottom lane with two other allies, and it's kind of playing the very, very tanky role down there and putting everyone to sleep. Okay. Let us see here. Now we're on to the attackers. Let's just start at the top. Cinderace. Insane amount of Cinderace. Probably the #1 jungler in the game right now. You just see a crazy amount of Cinder. It's so good. It scales so well. It does so much damage. It stays at incredible range. It secures objectives very well with its Unite move. I didn't used to think its Unite move secured objectives really well, but honestly, yeah, I'm wrong about that. It secures it insanely well. This Pokemon is just nuts, and you see it used all the time. It is used so much. Cramorant, 0. I never see Cram get played at all, ever once anymore. Never at all. Unfortunately, there's one other Pokemon, at least, that does its role much better than it, and then another one that also does its role better. Let's talk about Gardevoir. Gardevoir, I think, is B tier right now. Maybe a little more prevalent. I don't know. It's kind of in the ranks with these guys. I might even put it A. I'm seeing a lot of Guard. I think it'll be high B for me right now. I'm not seeing it as often as I saw Talon and Machamp, but at the same time, Gardevoir is very good right now, and we see it in the jungle. Usually, people are running Cinderace in the jungle or a few other Pokemon, but you see Gardevoir more and more. It's really cool. It has a great early game level 5, just a ton of damage with that Future Sight. So I think it catches some people off guard with how much damage it's able to output in that attack. I really like Guard right now. If you're going to play it, you're seeing it played in that central area. Greninja is probably an A tier. it's teetering into B. So the only reason you don't see more Greninja is just because of Cinderace, but you do see a decent amount of Greninja. Mostly it's people running Surf Greninja instead of Water Shuriken. And if you're curious as to why someone would run Surf instead of Water Shuriken, it's because Surf lets you get great secure on objectives like bees. So when they make it to bees and they have Surf, they can get it a little low and just surf, taking everything out. Also, it helps set up multiple KO situations. Greninja, slightly different from Cinder because you do eventually kind of get yourself into the fight, which I think is, at most Pokemon's detriment. You don't want to be right next to the action, but Greninja does extremely well. And again, tons of damage, tons of outplay potential. You see a good amount of Greninja, but way more Cinderace. Ninetales, never see it. Sad to say. Probably better than Cram, but you never see Ninetales. For a little while, it was down in that bottom tri-lane, but I haven't seen anyone run it at all, and it's because of our next Pokemon, essentially, Pikachu. You see so much Pikachu. It can use its Unite move almost literally every 1 minute once it gets its Unite. Because of that, you can defend goals very easily with it. You can secure with it. It stuns enemies. It does good damage. I've seen people running every build possible for Pikachu as well. It's not just that one build gets run. I've seen Thunder Thunderbolt. I've seen Thunder Electro Ball. I've seen Volt Tackle Electro Ball. I've seen just a lot of different builds for Pikachu right now. And honestly, it's kind of a monster. You see it in that bottom lane. So oftentimes you would see something like Slowbro and Pikachu and Eldegoss, something like that, or Wigglytuff and Eldegoss and Pikachu, or something. Very, very common to see that in the bottom lane. Sylveon, I don't think I saw a single Sylveon. I would love to see more teams try to run it. I don't think I saw anyone running it competitively at all. So I think Sylveon needs, a damage buff or something if you want to see it run more competitively. I know that sounds crazy because they had to nerf it so hard when it came out, but right now it gets outclassed by a lot of Pokemon. And if it's using Hyper Voice is super strong, but it doesn't have amazing secure because it's kind of chipping damage away at things. You can, just put it on something like a fire hose onto an objective and try to get it there. But the other problem is you just have a lot of characters who are very mobile right now, and I feel like they kind of run around Sylveon and they treat it like a little bit of a fool, if I'm being honest. Venusaur, insane amounts of Venusaur. Venusaur is absolutely crazy right now. Not only Giga Drain Petal Dance, but I'm also seeing Solar Beam. I saw a few Solar Beam games where the Pokemon was doing over 100,000 damage in them competitively. It's amazing. Venusaur is crazy good right now. Crazy good. And solo as well. It's just one of the best Pokemon in the game. It's so insane. Decidueye. You see zero Decidueye. I didn't see anyone playing Decidueye at all. So that is a snapshot of what people are running competitively right now. So you could look at this and say, oh, someone would run Lucario top lane, Slowbro, Eldegoss, maybe Slowbro, Eldegoss, Pikachu bottom with Cinderace jungle. You see a ton of combinations of this. If you're not seeing this, you see a lot more of these three guys, and then after that, you do see a decent amount of the ones here in the B tier. Everything else, it's extremely rare that you see, if at all. Again, I don't think I've seen anything in this bottom lane here, except I did see a little Absol weeks and weeks ago now at that winter tournament. I hope you enjoyed that. Just this kind of snapshot into what Pokemon are getting used in the top ranked competitive scene. We have the February finals coming up at the end of the week here, and I really think it's going to shift a lot of things around when you see what teams and what strategies end up winning that. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you all very much. And now, of course, we move everything around and just have some fun in case somebody skips to the end and they hear me saying something that doesn't make a lot of sense and they go, wait, what's he talking about? That's why we do this. It's a good time. When you have that Pikachu in the bottom lane, you're able to have Pokemon like Trevenant down there as well. It's a Pokemon that takes a long time to come online, but considering you have such an amazing attacker like Pikachu, now all of a sudden we're seeing Trevenant in that bottom lane, and Zarina stays in that top lane. It's really pushing out Lucario. I'm sure you've seen a lot of Machamp that's very popular, Eldegoss very popular. Something that I think a lot of people are surprised with is you're seeing no play out of Gardevoir. I think there might be one team out there that runs it, but nobody plays it. Seeing a lot more Gengar, actually, in matches. And weirdly enough, you're seeing it in that bot lane, in that tri lane. So people are replacing Pikachu from time to time with a Gengar. And it's been really cool to see. Let me know what you think in the comments. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you all very much for watching and listening. I'll see y'all next time. Oh, yes.
Is butter a carb?
Yes.